All right. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Self-Driving Car Nanodegree program. My name is Aaron Brown, and I'm one of the content developers working on the program. And today I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what the classroom looks like and then what kind of projects you can expect to work on for term one. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And here's what the classroom looks like. There's some pretty exciting projects to look forward to. The first one you'll be working on is finding lane lines. And all these projects will be focusing on Python and then some cool Python plugins as well. So particularly for finding lane lines, this is very much a computer vision problem. So we'll be using OpenCV2 to actually be looking at this. At using gradients to actually figure out where our lane line markers are. And after that, we'll be moving on to project 2. And in this course, so basically computer vision and deep learning is what we'll be focusing on. So we'll be learning a lot about how artificial neural networks work as well, and then convolutional neural networks. And we'll be using that to recognize traffic signs. So we'll create our own traffic sign classifier where we give it, this large array of different traffic signs. And using our convolutional neural network, we'll be able to classify what that sign is, whether it's a stop sign, whether it's yield. And we'll even be able to peek inside the network and see what kind of percentage it believes that sign is. So how confident it is that that sign really is a stop sign, for instance. Then we'll also be learning about some more practiced neural network templates that are used and how we can use transfer learning to take a network that's already taken hours to train and utilize it for our own projects, and how that can be pretty simple using different platforms such as Keras and TensorFlow. So we'll be learning a lot about TensorFlow when we're doing our neural networks. Diving more into neural networks and particularly deep learning, we have behavior cloning. And this is one of my favorite projects here. Is we use a simulator in Unity. And so we have this virtual car and we're able to drive it around. And we can drive it around this track and actually collect all these images of the car along with its steering wheel value. And when we do that, we have all this data generated and we can feed it to our convolutional neural network or whatever kind of deep learning network that we have set up. And from these images alone, it's able to recognize how it should steer the car. And by the end of this project, you have a car that's able to steer itself around in the simulated track. And that's pretty satisfying to see. We have some great job material here that can help brush you up on your resume and help you get ready for doing different interview questions, cover letters. So if you're interested in getting a job in the autonomous car field, there's definitely some nice resources there for you. Moving on to the second to last project in term 1, we were looking at deep learning, and now we're kind of coming back to advanced lane finding. So here's like version 2 of what we're originally doing with finding lane lines for our opening project. But now we're going to be using even more computer vision techniques where we're able to do transformations. And this gives us like this really cool view of what the street looks like as if you're in a helicopter and looking down on it from a bird's eye view. And then how we're able to use that to do things like measure the curvature of the road, which can be very useful for the car to know what that curvature looks like, so you can relate that to how it's wanting to turn its steering wheel. And there's a lot of fun things to do in this project. It's very open ended in that sense. So as students usually have a pretty fun time with this one and creating videos of what their accomplishments look like for that. And then once you have that working, you can add even more onto it by, so this is like a combination of computer vision and the machine learning. So instead of just doing deep learning here, we're looking at using classifiers. So support vector machines or decision trees to actually recognize whether an image is a vehicle or not a vehicle. And that gives you these bounding boxes around these cars. So you'll have this video, and the video is just made up of these images, and you feed it to your algorithm, which then outputs these bounding boxes. What I found really interesting about this project is just kind of the pipeline for how you create these bounding boxes. Sure, it's like one question of, okay, I have an image and I'm trying to figure out whether it's a car or not, but how do you take an image that's made up of a bunch of different like car images and search that and figure out which pieces of it should be like a bounding box? And so you'll explore techniques for that. And I had a lot of fun with this one as well. And once that's working, you can actually combine the advanced lane finding segment onto your vehicle detection and do both of them at the same time. So that's kind of a run through of what all the projects look like. So you can see that we're doing computer vision and deep learning. Each of these projects has a due date. So if you don't finish the project within this due date, it's okay, because you actually have until the end of the term, which is 3 months long, to finish all the projects. The only thing is if you don't maybe you finish a project by this due date, then maybe it'll just become a little bit difficult to catch up later on. But that kind of comes on to the second thing that we're going to talk about is the different resources that this class offers for you. So one of the resources, and it's a great one, is Slack. So the Slack channels are really cool. You can see what other students are working on. Each one has a different channel. So I can go into different projects and I can see how students are doing on the project. This is a great space for people just to help each other out. And so if you have any questions or problems, this is definitely a resource to check out. There's two other resources too that are very helpful, and that's the message boards. In the message boards, you have your fellow students to help you as well, kind of like the Slack, but here maybe it's just a little bit easier to find certain posts. And so, yeah, if you have any other questions or problems, this is definitely a great place to check out as well. And the last one I want to talk about, you actually have your own personal mentor that can help you. And so this is great because they're there for you, and they'll respond usually within like a couple days at most. And so if you have any problems, don't hesitate to ask your mentor, because they've already gone through this material themselves, and so they'll probably be able to relate to some of the problems that you might run into while you go through this course. So that kind of gives the breakdown of this virtual tour of the classroom for term 1. And then there's 2 other terms after that that are also 3 months long. So at this point, I think I'll probably go ahead and answer any questions that anyone might have. So to that, I'll probably turn off screen sharing. Hey again. And check out what we have for any questions. Okay. Ajay asks, what Python IDE do you recommend? So personally, I really like using Sublime. It's just a text editor. And what's nice about it is it kind of recognizes what programming language you're in and helps format it. So when you're doing term 2 as well, when you're doing C++, you can still be using that. I try to do everything as much as possible from just the command line. So just using a simple text editor like Sublime is helpful for that. George Lima asks, I'm having issues cloning the GitHub repository in the Miniconda. Where do I get more detailed instructions besides the README instructions? I think for that, I'd just be a little bit more curious. So what's exactly happening when you're trying to clone over the GitHub repository? Is it a question about compiling? Or then I would also say, so kind of coming back to the resources that we discussed, definitely a great spot is to check out Slack, where there's a dedicated channel to doing the Miniconda kind of environment, and then getting questions answered there. AA asks, will we be able to learn the theoretical part of the machine learning and computer vision algorithms, or is it how to apply them only? Actually, there's quite a bit of math that you will be looking at for even when you're doing just the lane finding segment. Of course, there is some like high overview software that kind of helps a lot as well, so you don't have to go into a lot of the math. For the machine learning part, there is a section where you do create your own artificial neural network from the ground up. And in that part, you will be delving into a lot of like the theoretics of how you want to do gradient descent, and like mathematically set that up. Elmer asks, what's the recommended environment setup for this course? So actually, we do have some great starter kits that you can take advantage of. And it's like an Anaconda environment. And once you have that set up, you have all the project dependencies all there for you. So I definitely recommend taking advantage of that. Devendra asks, is it possible to progress to the next term before 3 months if someone manages to complete all projects in less than 3 months? Yeah, actually, I do believe we've had students do that previously. So if you do get really far ahead, you could actually jump further into term 2. Harsh asks, how much of computer vision image processing knowledge is needed besides machine learning and deep learning? Yes. So here, this kind of assumes that you don't know anything about computer vision, and you'll be able to learn everything from scratch in that way. So don't worry if you don't have any background in computer vision already, because the course is very good about getting you to where you need to be to complete the projects. Ajay asks, at the end of term 1, what is the expectation in terms of learned concepts? Meaning, what should one have learned in terms of concepts by the end of term 1? By the end of term 1, you'll actually have a solid understanding of deep learning and how you can use it to not only recognize different traffic signs, but drive a car around a virtual track. You'll also be able to understand fundamentally how to build an artificial neural network from the ground up, which is pretty cool. And then also like higher levels systems like TensorFlow and Keras, which allow you to very quickly build out a neural network. And then for computer vision, by the end of the course, you have these videos that you've made yourself that are able to capture lane lines and also other cars on the road. And once you have the algorithm, you can apply that to any video you want. We've had lots of students actually go around and capture their own driving experiences and then testing it out with their algorithms and seeing how well it captures it in that different environment. So that's what you can kind of expect by the end of term 1 to have completed. Tajay asks, do we get to meet all batchmates sometime? So we do sometimes have special events. We've had some in Mountain View before where students are invited to come out and you can meet the instructors and meet your other batchmates. And so those are always fun. And I hope we'll be having some more of those in the future. Sushi Soldo asks, how does the difficulty vary between each term? So each term kind of has some different concentrations where term 1 is all about computer vision and deep learning, and term 2, I would say the difficulty is about the same. The only thing is that now instead of doing your work in Python, you're doing it in C++, and also the concentration changes where you're actually looking at more traditional robotics ways to solve problems such as sensor fusion, localization, and control. And then term 3, we're still kind of building out, so I can't really say how difficult that one will be, but I think each term is relatively about the same amount of difficulty with just the different concentrations. Alkase asks, regarding SAC forms, do we automatically get access or we need to request it? You should automatically get access to the SDC forms. Rocksmith asks, term 2 talks about C++. What is the expectation there? So the expectation there is that all the projects in term 2 will actually be completed in C++. And if you're a little bit rusty at C++, there's some great starter material out there too to get you up to speed with using the C++ language. Alexander asks, the starter kit he mentioned for your environment is on the Udacity GitHub. Yes. So those starter kits, like I was saying before, are great for getting all your project dependencies set up in one place. If you have any trouble cloning it, please check out the Slack and message boards, and even your mentor will be a great aid in making sure you have that starter kit set up. Roman asks, thanks at Udacity. Maybe I can piggyback on machine learning one then. And it looks like, do we have any other questions? Harsh asks, can we use H2O.ai deep learning framework to do projects than TensorFlow? So for that one, I would say I'd recommend probably doing the project in TensorFlow, just because if you've never used TensorFlow before, it's a great learning opportunity to try it out and seeing what TensorFlow has available. And then if you want, kind of like go back and maybe try with H2O.ai, because even more power to you if you can finish the project with multiple different frameworks. Let's see if I missed any questions. So it looks like that's all the questions we have for now. And we're about 24 minutes in. Oh, here's a couple more. Sheila Barada asks, are the ND program students considered by the partner companies for full-time machine learning, deep learning opportunities after completing term one? Yeah, we've actually had a couple of students branch out into machine learning careers. We had someone go to BMW recently for machine learning. Rakesh Smith asks, if a candidate completes a course completely, how well is he equipped to get a job? So I can personally say that we've had a lot of recruiters come to us and say, we love your program. We love the students that you guys are, helping graduate the program. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for finding a job after completing this program from testimony from other recruiters. Let's see here. Alex asks, what can we expect from the mentorship program? So mentors are usually very good about just kind of getting back to you. They're a little bit ahead, at least by a month. So they've already seen the type of projects that you're working on. And so they can kind of relate to any like struggles or problems or questions you might have while doing it. So they're an excellent resource to kind of help you get through the projects, I'd say. George asks, okay, cool. Looks like the Git problem was solved. Awesome, George. Let's see. Leave it open for a couple more questions, I think. I think we still have another 4 minutes about. Devandra asks, how difficult would you say it is to become a project reviewer or mentor? Definitely sign up. We love project reviewers and mentors. So if you have the desire, please sign up. It's a lot of fun. Kevin asks, are there other additional hiring partners being considered currently? Yeah, we're always talking to potential hiring partners and seeing what kind of opportunities there are for that. Ned asks, how can we make a real project with other Udacity students? I would say get on the Slack forums, and you're bound to meet some people that would love to collaborate on some projects there. Right, a dashboard app. So the Slack channel, go to maybe just a general and put that message out there and see who would be interested in joining you for that. Message boards could be good too if you go through the general ones. Paul, thank you, Paul. Great job so far, guys, and materials are great. Thanks, appreciate it. Refinal asks, is there any project to integrating all contents? So we're kind of like in the process still building out term 3. So I'd say maybe there's a possibility of doing that. One of the things that we have, and you can check out, is this open source simulator. And then other students can check that out as well. And you could kind of recreate a lot of the projects, I think, in the simulator. I think that'd be pretty exciting to see. Kevin asks, do you know any good resources for learning more about UI, UX for autonomous vehicles? I don't actually, but maybe we'll cover something in term 3 that could potentially. Linda asks, will any of the ND team be at any of the Detroit area conferences this summer or have promo codes? I do know David was recently in Detroit. I don't know if there's any other events planned in the future, but maybe. How often do you have Q&A sessions? So one of the things that we do is project walkthroughs where we offer time just to kind of do some Q&A for specific projects. And we regularly do these kind of live web streams for welcoming new cohorts. And there's even events too, where you can kind of go on the same kind of messaging system, ask questions there. So we do it pretty regularly, I'd say. I have a question here. Can you please differentiate in the ND, what are the basics for AV? What are actual problems that still need to be solved to bring AV to mass market? I don't know if I can be too much help answering that question right now. Sorry about that. But Steve says, do you know who are the first cohorts for this specific nanodegree? I'm curious as to how much talent is entering this field and the knowledge is versatile enough for other domains. The first cohorts. So currently, the first cohort happened back in November, and they're finishing up term 2 right now, getting ready to enter term 3. But even though the class is not over yet, we still have a lot of people finding jobs just after being in term 2. So we're at the, let's see, Rocket Schmidt says, term 3 syllabus is not quite well defined as term 1's, and could you provide more detail? Yeah, so term 3 is still in the process of being built out. We have some pretty cool projects there, such as path planning. We have specialized courses too, so you can go into advanced deep learning. You can check out safety, and then the really fun project that we're planning to do is you can upload your code onto the actual self-driving car that we've built and test it out. So very exciting right there. So you get to get involved with ROS and AutoWare and see how that's done. So so it's 3:32 right now, so 2 minutes past the mark. So I'll do these last 2 questions. What are the hiring partners are expecting? So Med asked, what are the hiring partners are expecting from student backgrounds and skills? One of the top ones that we see is C++ is great to have because it's a hardware-oriented language that's flexible and fast, and you get to start doing that in term 2. The kind of projects that you're building out are great to put into your repertoire, and those are definitely kind of assets to show that you're familiar with the pipeline for being an autonomous vehicle engineer. So that's a nice resource to have there. Suresh asks, what are the other domains related to AV and this knowledge applies to? AV, autonomous vehicles. You definitely can join the DD Challenge as a new student for term 1. Everyone's welcome for that. So I think I'll go ahead and end the live session here. If there's any more questions, Elizabeth will be happy to help you out there. And thank you for joining today. I'll see you guys later. I hope you have fun in the class. All right, see ya.